Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 3, Tom Taylor writing and John Timms on the art. There's some more goodbye stuff in this, but of course it's a bit more John focused, as you'd expect, given the premise. And also, John does Hard Time.
Yeah.
45 minutes of Hard Time, but Hard Time all the same.
That is the most Tom Taylor line in this entire...
That cracked me up.
Just because it does have that humor still, for as serious as John is, in that, he's very sincere about wanting to fix the world and the problems.
Yes.
But him going down and he did Hard Time.
It was...
You're in there for 45 minutes.
Very, very, very delightful.
Yes.
So we get an action scene at the start where Superman and John are saving a building that's falling down in Coast City. Simple stuff, but it's like, this is weird. It was like an earthquake, but it was like a pinpoint earthquake that only affected this little place. That might mean there's something super heroic or a metahuman or something. And sure enough, they find a character named Fault Line. Flatline's in Robin. That's why I made that slip. Fault Line.
More on her later.
But Fault Line is kind of confused though. She's not like being all maniacal and saying, "Aha, I will destroy the city." She has amnesia. She doesn't know who she is. She's sort of standing there, just being kind of confused. And it turns out that if she takes a step, it causes a mini earthquake. Right? They can feel tremors, and when Superman and John pick her up, her density is so extreme. It's like she's really heavy to them. What does John describe it as? Her body density is off the charts. It's like she bonded with a fraction of a neutron star.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so clearly this is someone in trouble, but she's very dangerous to everyone around her.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the wildfire guy from the last issue.
Yeah, which obviously John says this is not the first time I've encountered someone like this who has an accidental power, who doesn't know what they're doing. So it sets up some plot stuff, but it brings us back to Jay, who was a character who was introduced last issue, this activist that John kind of befriended at the college, and there's protesting because apparently the US government has agreed to send back the refugees that John saved from, was it Gamorum?
Gamora.
Gamoran, sorry.
Yep.
There's an N at the end.
Well, but the island is Gamora. But yeah,
you're right,
Gamoran
sure.
refugees.
You're right. So Gamora wants them back, and there's a protest happening. John decides he helps a couple of the protesters because the police are starting to bring out their sticks and whatnot, and he says, "Well, I'm gathering with them, so arrest me if you must." And sure enough, they put on the cuffs. John lets himself be arrested. It's obviously a big statement. Cat Grant shows up to interview, and yeah, so Superman comes to get him out of jail. Jay was also going to do the same thing, which leads to Superman being introduced to John's friend and invites him for dinner in Smallville. So they fly off with John's new friend, and it is in Smallville, so it's with the Kents. Lois is waiting there as well, and some nice humor here. Jay freaks out by meeting Lois. I mean, obviously he was starstruck with Superman, but he's especially starstruck with Lois.
Yeah, this is a guy who runs something called The Truth, right? Like, of course, he's gonna be excited to meet Lois.
Yeah, he freaks out. So I guess the only real critique about editorial here between this and Action Comics is that they have this moment here where John walks in and Superman, Lois, and the Kents are all kind of looking at him like they've all just like they're about to tell him some bad news, and he realizes what this is. But this doesn't really sync up with how we saw it in how we saw it in Action Comics. With how because it feels like he knows that decision's being made in Action Comics the second Superman makes it, whereas here it looks like, oh no, he's made that later, and he's told Lois and the Kents first. It feels a little bit disjointed in that sense. It's not a huge deal.
Just a tad, but I feel like we get Taylor's take on this, and then we got Johnson's take in Action. So I'm kind of okay with the disjointedness, just because they hit two different emotional beats. I
mean, I suppose you can read it as he made the choice in Action, and then this is like him saying, okay, it's time for me to actually leave now. But I feel like that could have just been a little bit more clear. It kind of felt like in Action Comics, like the choice was made and his leaving was imminent, and partly because he did leave at the end of the issue. It was like it felt like he said his goodbye already. But that's not to say that this is not a sweet moment. with Superman giving him the pep talk, saying he'll be back no matter what. John's still worried and thinks this is the end of his story and he'll never come back because he's been from the to the future. So all good stuff. And Superman says, "You've already changed the future. You've already made such a difference. I'm the man of tomorrow, but you're the one who's here for after that," which I thought was a really good.
Yeah, that's the one
really
that got me. You're for the days after, which is a nice,
Yeah.
Again, that's a Tom Taylor point of view kind of deal where, you look at the next generation.
Yeah. No, really nice ending to that scene. And I think I'm excited actually about this now that Superman's gone. Not that his inclusion's been bad, but I think it's going to be interesting now to like have the book without him and have it just truly be John on his own. But yeah, so no.
So I also like John talking to Ma Kent, where he says, "You're not worried? He's my son. I'm always worried, but I stopped doubting him a long time ago." Like that's just one of those moments, like in Birthright, where Pa Kent tells Clark, you're my son first. I'm always gonna try to talk you out of doing what you're gonna do, but I know you're not gonna listen. So go be you. This I felt was kind of similar, but it was Grandma reassuring.
Yeah, but then we get some plot stuff. So, the president of Gamora turns out
fake Luthor.
Fake Luthor, but this is John's Luthor, though. That's the point, right? We're getting John's
but
Luthor.
Like down to the green and purple color scheme, the bald head. He's fake Luthor.
But the point is, though, is that he's actually monitoring all this. He knows that Superman's left, and now he wants to ruin John's life. So he's actually somehow kidnapped Fault Line, and more importantly, gotten her back. That's the word that's used. So that she was their instrument before. So she's scared. She doesn't know what she's she's not doing anything malicious. She doesn't know that she's working for them.
No.
He basically just throws her out a plane. I mean, I say he's back in Gamora, but right. He has his lackeys throw her out of a plane, so she'll land at the Kent farm. And as we would clearly introduced at the start of the issue, that if she takes a step, it causes a mini earthquake. So she's falling from a plane on the farm, and the final page of the book is just this giant shockwave, and like whatever you want to call it, this giant quake. The epicenter being right in the farm. So I really dug this ending, actually. I really like this idea that this villain is using people and they don't even know why they're being used or how they were used. And then the fact that he's also trying to just completely destroy everything that John cares about and ruin his life. It's just really, really sinister. It's like, okay, he already felt like a pretty bad villain before. From issue 2, but this kind of made it feel like, oh no, he's a really vindictive personal villain now as well. So I kind of dug that.
So this character of Henry Bendix has been around since Wildstorm days, since like the 90s.
I think you looked this up. I think you looked this up last issue, because I remember saying I think he's new, and then you said no, he's from Wildstorm.
But I didn't realize the character. I looked up Gamora as the island. But so I looked this guy up, and that last time he appeared was in Midnighter Volume 2 by Orlando. So, I think it's also cool that Taylor is taking from Wildstorm instead of, creating just wholly new, which he could have done, right?
Yeah, he could have done.
But he's going and finding this character.
I wonder. Sometimes I wonder if did Taylor know about this character, and he may be a Wildstorm fan for all we know. I have no idea.
Right.
Or is it a case of he wanted to use a dictator like this in this type of story, and just maybe they've got a group chat where he said, "Hey guys, I'm doing a story like this. I want a character that's pre-established that fits this," and then someone like Orlando who's used them already goes, "Oh, I've got a great idea for you. What about this Bendix guy from Wildstorm?"
I like the idea even more that it's Jim Lee, because he's the one that created him.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes more sense. Jim
Lee's like, hey,
just the guy for you.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, well, when the boss offers him up, I'll do it. Because he's still the solo publisher, right, Jim Lee?
Yeah. I do genuinely think that obviously sometimes creators use characters and things because they do personally like it or have an attachment to it. But I do think as well sometimes they need a certain type of character and they don't know who to use, so they'll just say to their colleagues, "Hey, who fits this description?" And then someone goes,
and that could be too. I'm used to the Johnsian, like I know a lot of those characters that he was pulling out were from his childhood, or he just created them from whole cloth. So I just apply that to everybody, probably incorrectly.
Not everyone's an encyclopedia like Jeff Johns is.
Yeah, so like
But I think that's Superman Son of Kal-El. Solid issue. I think I preferred issue 2 over issue 1. I think issue 3 is probably a bit on par with issue 2. It's continuing these statements, this idea of John being the one to do things that Superman won't because he sees himself differently. He even has a speech at one point when he's talking to Cat Grant about how, my grandfather, sent my father here. He's an immigrant. It sounds a lot like what you hear in a lot of like interviews with people who are either the children or grandchildren of immigrants when they're arguing certain topics, for present day.
If you're sending them to somewhere that's going to be dangerous, how dangerous are you sending them from?
Yeah,
is kind of the point, and it's kind of like there's a reason, that they're coming here. It's not just because. So, but yeah, that's real good. And again, it's Taylor adding these little pieces of real life, into comics where you can have art representing real life and vice versa. And I think it fits, especially with Superman. And this new generation in John.
All right, what are you giving Superman Son of Kal-El?
I'm gonna give this one an 8.
Yeah, I'm giving it 8 too.